Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're finally going to be talking about that tropical storm that's looking to develop offshore of Florida and north of the Bahamas. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, what is your prediction for how strong this one gets? Will it be only a tropical depression? Will it get into tropical storm status? Or will it even get to hurricane status? I don't think it will at all, but maybe some of you do. Alright, now let's get into this video though, and we're going to be taking a look at our satellite here. So you can see that we do have some very tall clouds there to the south of Miami in the Florida Keys. We are dealing with some thunderstorms moving onshore for Florida, like I said in my most previous update for this storm, that we would be dealing with some showers and thunderstorms making their way onto Florida. It actually looks to be more amplified than what I originally anticipated. Here's a map where we can see where that low pressure system is actually located, and you can see it's located just south of the Florida Keys, and this is creating some wind and thunderstorms for mainland Florida and southern Florida, like I said before. Alright, now here's your model intensity guidance here for this invest, and you can see we're just under tropical storm status, and pretty much all of these models, actually yes, all of them do take us into tropical storm status, actually middle range tropical storm status, possibly even strong tropical storm status. Obviously, none of them show it hitting that hurricane, which is up there in that yellow, so I think it's very unlikely at this point that we reach hurricane status, but we are looking very likely to reach at least tropical storm status at this point. Alright, now we're about to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the spaghetti models and take a look at where they're expecting this one to go. Alright, and here we are, we're looking at this one. It's going to head generally in a northward direction, and the models are trending towards this one reaching very close to Miami, possibly even hitting Miami. So this one is going to come very close to southern Florida there, but it's going to generally make its way offshore as it heads further and further north, and it's going to stay pretty far away from anywhere else on the East Coast at this point. That's what I'm thinking. Alright, now here's a map that's been floating around for a little while now, and this is the Canadian ensemble model track, and you can see each one of those lines is an individual model, but the black line is the mean average there. What I wanted to show this for is there is a couple, or actually a few of these, that do bring it very close to the East Coast there, so that is a possibility, a very low percentage possibility, but still nevertheless a possibility. You can see a lot of those, actually two of them, hit North Carolina. We see one goes up into New Jersey. Obviously, this is not a very high likelihood, as we have a lot of them keeping it well offshore, pretty much most of them completely. And you can see the mean average is well offshore, indicated by that black line. However, it will intensify into a 993 millibar low pressure system, potentially lower, so we're going to need to watch that very closely as well. All right. Now we're about to move on and take a look at what the National Hurricane Center has to say, and then we're going to kind of get into some model guidance again. Alright, and here we are, we're looking at our 2-day graphical tropical weather outlook here from the National Hurricane Center. And you can see south of Miami, south of the Florida Keys, that's where it's located right now. And if you look at the bottom right hand side of the screen, you can see there's an 80% chance of this one developing into a tropical depression, at least in the next 48 hours, which is pretty high. Very, very high, actually, 80%. They're pretty much positive that this will develop. And then if we look at our 5-day graphical outlook, this one's the same thing for the next 5 days, 80% chance of this one developing, and you can see where it looks to head there north of Bahamas, maybe even impacting the Bahamas. But you can see that they keep it the range far enough west to where this could bring impacts to the eastern seaboard. Like I said, it is very, very possible, but very low probability. But most likely it'll be well offshore there of the eastern seaboard. Alright, now here's your European ensemble model probability of tropical depression map. And in those deeper red shades, which is where this storm looks to develop, we have a 90 to 100% chance of tropical depression status for this storm to develop into that, which is extremely high. That's basically a 100% chance that this will develop into at least a tropical depression. Now we're about to move on and take a look at what this same model thinks as far as the probabilities for tropical storm status in just a moment. All right, and here we are, and we can see there's a lot of those orange shades there, kind of a deeper orange. That's where we're at 60 to 80% chance that we will hit tropical storm status. So we're going to be looking at a high probability for tropical storm status being reached. Obviously, when you looked at the intensity guidance, that was pretty obvious that we would be looking at that. But I just wanted to show what this individual model thought as far as the probabilities that we do see this tropical storm status being reached. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that simulated radar. This is going to be today during the afternoon hours here, and you can see we are dealing with some thunderstorms again for the southern half of Florida there. These are eventually, as we head towards tomorrow morning, going to make their way towards kind of where they're more reaching the eastern coast there of Florida, the central eastern coast of Florida, and we're going to start to see that low pressure system develop. These storms could get windier and windier as they head further north as this storm intensifies. As you can see, by the time we're reaching about Saturday, maybe 5 p.m., they have pretty much moved offshore of Florida, so we will be looking at less of a threat there for some thunderstorms. But you can see there is still some bands on shore of Florida there that are being thrown off of this tropical system. As we move towards about Sunday, approximately 2 p.m. or so, you can see that we are going to potentially, if this one was to move closer to the Carolinas, which this model does have it moving closer to the Carolinas, we could be looking at some thunderstorm bands being thrown off of this storm into the Carolinas as well. So that's something we're going to need to look out for as well. The storm itself might not hit the East Coast, and it probably won't, but that doesn't mean that we won't see some storms being thrown on shore from the actual system itself as well. All right, and as we move towards our lower resolution NAM model, because that one doesn't go out far enough. This is at about Monday at about 8 a.m. You can see that it actually brings a pretty hefty band there onshore to North Carolina and possibly even southeastern Virginia as well. All of these things are going to be things that we need to look out for moving forward, but the probability isn't necessarily very high at this point, and the uncertainty is quite low. All right, and then by time we're reaching about 2 p.m. on Monday, you can see those storms begin to not really impact the East Coast anymore. There's maybe some showers, but really not impacting the East Coast as much at all. And then by time we're reaching about Wednesday at about 2 a.m., you can see this one as well offshore of the northeastern coast. So it moves from being a little bit close to North Carolina to pretty much moving in a very easterly direction. So I'm not looking at very much chance for impacts in New England whatsoever, or the northeastern United States. And as you can see, there's a high pressure system set up in Maine that's really going to hinder the chance for this one to even move anywhere close to the coast as it moves further north, in my opinion. This could obviously change. All right, now we're about to move on and take a look at those expected wind gusts, and then we're going to take a look at our graphical forecast here from Direct Weather for this Invest. All right, and this one's going to be for today. We're looking at southern Florida and what we could be expecting to see as far as wind gusts. You can see for Miami and possibly even some of the Keys as well, we're going to be looking at the chance for 34 to maybe about 50 mile per hour wind gusts there in those green shades. So as of this morning, that's what we could be looking at as far as conditions in southern, well, extreme southeastern Florida actually. All of the blue colors are about 20 to 34 mile per hour winds as well. So it's going to be quite gusty throughout Florida because of this system. And as we move on towards about tomorrow morning at about 8 a.m. on Saturday, May 16th, you can see that we do see this one actually move further north to where it is along that eastern coast of Florida. And again, we see those greens pretty much along the coast there, especially very close to where this system is located. And that, again, that's going to be about 34 to maybe 50 mile per hour wind gusts. Those yellows indicating areas of 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and you can see those are pretty close to the coast, so I wouldn't rule out the chance that we do see some higher gusts in that vicinity. And now as we move towards, I would say this is about Sunday evening, we can see that as it moves offshore of the mid-Atlantic and southeast coast there, we do see 20s and maybe even some 30 mile per hour wind gusts being possible throughout Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, all because of this tropical system. If it's further offshore, we look at less winds. If it's closer to the coast, we will be looking at more widespread 30 mile per hour wind gusts, which again isn't major by any means, but it is going to be a nuisance at least for a lot of these areas, so it is worth mentioning. All right, now let's take a look at our graphical map just to finish things out. This is Invest 90L, that's the official name for this one, and in the next 7 days, this is our forecast. First off, if you look at the right-hand side of your screen here, you can see the location and then the strength. We're currently looking at 34 mile per hour winds with this one and a 1012 millibar low pressure system. So it's not very strong whatsoever yet, but it is going to continue to develop as time moves on. And the movement is generally very, very slow in a northerly direction at this point, but it is going to pick up speed, obviously, as time moves on. You can see we do have the chance for this one to move onshore to the southeastern Florida coast, but it moves pretty far offshore after that point. If you look at the very left side of our red range there, that would be the most impactful. But if it was to stay on the very right side of that red area, that's where we would be looking at much, much less impacts for the eastern seaboard there. And that's a lot of ifs, so we're going to need to just continue to track this one as time moves forward. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what are your thoughts for this upcoming winter if you had any gut feelings for what could be happening? And Max G 1998 said probably going to be a boring winter again. And I think that could be the case. Obviously, anything could be the case, but I thought this comment was pretty funny because it's so negative. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.